This just in, breaking news from the rock fight. A group of San Francisco-based tech investors have announced they are launching a subscription-based publishing ecosystem of adult-themed outdoor magazines. Gear Hunky Plus will debut this spring with an orgy of coverage of all things uncovered outside. The first issue will feature Alexi Handhold's attempt at the first clothing-free solo of El Capitan in Yosemite, complete with centerfold, listicles, and affiliate links. Gear Hunky Plus's glossy, full-color print editions harken back to a day when people had to pay for their adult outdoor content or find it in the woods behind their house like everyone else.
While that may not be true, you know what is true? Ibex Merino is as home in your shop as duct tape on Denali. We're talking authentic heritage, real sustainability, privately owned, and of course, premium performance that has become legendary. From everyday essentials like the goat tee to expedition-ready pieces like the mammoth hoodie, Ibex has a premium merino layer ready to outfit any of your customers. Schedule some time with their team at GOA Connect in Kansas City this November. You know, maybe it's time to make a little room for the goat in your store.
Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, they've packed their trade show bags, and they're on their way to Minnesota for a 10-month outdoor retailer tailgate. It's the Monday Boys, Eoin Comerford and producer Dave. What's up, guys? I love that you never know what I'm going to say. It makes me so happy.
I just don't even know where to go.
Come on,
with that.
You're headed out. You're so excited about the news. Just gonna
So
live in
excited.
Minnesota
It's
for
been
the
a
next...
crazy week. Dear
Right.
Lord. I go away for 1 week, people.
Right? And the prospect of $12 soft drinks and cold sandwiches.
Just gonna live. Are there
Fantastic.
Buc-ee's along the way between your respective homes in Minnesota?
I hope
Buc-ee's having a moment on like Instagram
Man, I
Reels
don't-
and TikTok.
I don't think so.
No, Buc-ee's. No, they're spawning as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right.
What's the percentage of the global supply chain and stuff in Buc-ee's? I think there's probably it's a pretty high amount right there.
Right? It's impressive.
Yeah, that's one
Okay.
word.
It is impressive.
All right, well, today we're going to offer some follow-up thoughts to the big outdoor retailer news, as well as weigh in on the latest from REI and some other headlines to come out of the outdoor industry. But first, some programming reminders. We never want you to miss an episode of The Rock Fight, so please click follow on the podcast app you are using right now. No new open container tomorrow. We're taking a week off or so to reload the container with some fresh stories, working on a bunch of amazing things happening over there with Doug Schnitzbahn. But you will on Thursday get an all-new episode of Gear Abbey with host Shantae Salabert, who answers all of your burning outdoor questions. So make sure you're following both of those podcasts. And Dave, I got to ask you,
Colin,
yeah,
on the Gear Abbey front, does it come with any kind of warning? Because I just listened to the last episode, and 2 phrases stick in my mind: banging animals, and the other one is poo stew. Okay, those are 2 actual phrases from that show, and I feel like there should be, like, if you're in any way squeamish, I don't know, some sort of disclaimer,
a parental warning.
something.
Before.
I don't know. Yeah,
Pretty sure those were the warm-up acts at the Hawthorne Theater last night.
Poo Stew's a good band
I'm
name.
just saying. Yeah,
Let's say,
right.
I don't want to speak for Shantae. She's not here to defend herself, but my guess is that I think she's writing these episodes with how can I offend Eoin in mind. It's sort of.
Yeah.
I don't feel offended.
It's just,
It's just
solid
like,
bar.
whoa, okay, we went there. Okay, oh, we went there too. Okay, cool.
We forgot about our whole episode where we talked about horny salmon. So that was.
Wow.
That's
Anyway,
true.
okay, sorry. Yes, please. Back to our regular.
Can't wait for her to hear this. Dave, what should our listeners do if they want more from the Rock Fight?
Well, I guess if you want more from the Rock Fight, you're going to have to subscribe to the newsletter, News from the Front, our semi-weekly newsletter, semi-monthly newsletter,
Hey.
rockfight.co, rockfight.co. Sign up today.
And Eoin, if we want to hear from you, you specifically, since you left us,
Yes.
how can we hear from you? No, how can our listeners write into the Rock Fight?
This is a tough
Well,
crowd.
they should email us at myrockfight@gmail.com.
Yes.
They can also reach out to us on LinkedIn. Just search up the Rock Fight, or on Instagram, where we are Rock Fight Co, all one word, and slip into Colin's DMs.
How are we feeling about the state of LinkedIn these days?
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, is it still as fun as it was like a year ago? Or are we getting a little jaded?
Was LinkedIn ever fun?
No, that's true.
Shit, I don't know. I mean, I would say so much of LinkedIn is just self-congratulatory bullshit. It actually, it's good for me because I actually spent some time trying to put together some content that has some thought and worthwhile and isn't all about how brilliant I am. Although that's the underlying current, obviously.
Right. Did you notice how smart I am?
Yeah, do you notice? So, but yeah, no, so much of it is just horseshit, or people who are just sort of fishing for follows, or isn't working from home great, or whatever. Yeah, but there's I find actually some good content out there.
All right, so first thing I want to talk about today is a little bit more on the big news of last week, which was the outdoor retailer news of the show moving to Minnesota and moving to August. And we're recording this today after Eoin and I chatted with Sunny and Lindsay about all of that. We heard from a lot of people in the last 24 hours. And so I have some follow-up thoughts that I want to discuss with you guys, and also we need to get Dave's take on this. The first one is, and back to our LinkedIn conversation, Eoin, like, shiny object syndrome, I feel like in the outdoor industry is real. I saw a lot of people, both personal text messages on LinkedIn and in some other places. People have just been pouring dirt on outdoor retailer. And then a lot of the messages and posts I saw being like, hey, OR is back. They're moving to Minnesota. So I thought that was kind of funny, like just how easily excited a lot of folks in the industry are.
It's actually a more positive reaction than I would have expected. So, okay, cool.
But it does seem, it's a little disingenuous. Like, I don't think they got it anymore. I can't go to OR anymore. Now it's like, are you moving to Minnesota? Oh, yeah, I always believed in you.
Well, we'll see. Will people actually, be excited to get away from their LinkedIn keyboards and on a plane? So that's going to be the big question.
The second thing is, and we talked a little bit about this with Lindsay and Sunny, and I think Eoin, you and I did as well. I am a little concerned about the old school kind of outdoor approach this team is starting out on, right? The leadership village, as they're calling themselves. It's a very much an industry, old school kind of outdoor industry group of folks. The first roster kind of feels like we've been here before. So I do want to see where this plays out. Like we talked about, run and casual. Those are the driving categories right now for outdoor. And I think for them to find success, I think that I just want to reiterate it. I think that is going to have to be addressed at some point.
OR 2.0, which I'm now calling this OR 2.0, it can't just be. You're not going to get back to OR. Those days are over. I think you've had that conversation many times with Sean and others. So yeah, you need to develop a show for today, not for 10 years ago. And I think they will need to expand the roster a little bit to get some of that in here.
Yeah, and as they're looking to do that, I think if they really want to enjoy, this is my last point, and I want to hear, Dave, I want you to jump in here with your thoughts. You haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. If they really want to get to that return to form, and again, I think we said this, it was one of the first questions I asked Lindsay, you got to define who the show is for and give those people a reason to show up. And I'm not just saying that's for OR. I think Switchback has a similar challenge. Anybody who's making a show or putting on a show, this is something that there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of things that people can come and do and places they can spend their time. And I'm not sure, and I'm not really talking about the industry days and the panels. I don't think those things are enough. I was actually catching up with our friend of the pod, Wes Allen, who owns a brick and mortar shop in Cody, Wyoming. He's been on the show multiple times. I'm sure we'll be having him on again sometime in the near future. He's consistently lamented any shows being, other than GOA, being held in June, and he loves the idea of the show being in August, but that's because he is a brick and mortar retailer who has a lot to do in June. So if he's the target audience, if the GOA accounts are the target audience, then yeah, this is kind of like a home run for that. Like, hey, the people we want to have come here, here's who's going to come. This is what they're looking for. We're going to accommodate that.
But they, in fairness, Colin, they answered that question and they said very clearly it was brands and retailers. This is a show for those folks. And so, like we said in the show on Friday, if ultimately, if all of these things doesn't move the needle for those folks and get them back to the show, then it didn't work.
You're absolutely right. I think what I'm saying is a lot of the, I don't want to call it fluff, a lot of the sort of other parts of the announcement in terms of the panels and the events and stuff like that kind of overshadowed that piece of it. And I think a simple message to the people you really want to have come and the value in that, and it's not in having an industry day and those kinds of things. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think that's sort of the make the proposition, this is what we have, here's why you come. And then you can do all of those other things, right? Just to have them happen. But it needs to be, that's the frosting, that's not the cake, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, totally. And, it's the classic chicken or the egg scenario, which is, we've got to get the brands to get the retailers. But we have to have the retailers show up to keep the brands coming and vice versa, and we saw that. Right. I think we saw that in the first switchback where I would say we have more brands than retailers. So I think, if anything, I think they're leaning on the retailer side this time with the GOA scholarship and that kind of piece. To me, the bigger question is brands. If you don't get some core brands showing up, then I think it's going to be tricky.
All right, Dave, get in here. It's your first time. Everybody stand back. It's been since Thursday of last week.
You're setting this way up.
No one's heard Dave's thoughts.
What is there to say? You guys have covered it all.
All right, good.
I mean, look, creating a unique and compelling reason to show up, that's every brand's challenge is to do that. So that's no different than anybody else. It has been their unique challenge. For sure. We still haven't answered the question, does the industry need multiple national shows for retailers and brands? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just saying that's one that's out there. Kind of where you guys were just talking about too, in terms of, it's about retailers, it's about brands. I'm not sure that they haven't gone through all the exercise of what can be radically rethought. Right. I think timing, okay, that's always the issue for everybody. But what setup, what format would make this so compelling as to have to be there? Is this the speed dating of trade shows and everybody gets a table, not a booth, and one after the other, and it's a lower cost to get into? And I don't know, is there just something that uses technology plus the IRL, leaves more time for mixing, but it compels people to come in and be able to do business in 1 or 2 days? Right? Bam. Get in there. And again, it's just more of an idea of just how do we make this such a compelling format that is distinct and unique and different the way we've always done it, and start building? Because maybe the second year of this version doesn't look like the first, doesn't look like the third. Right. But at least what is that to get out of the door and just remake how we interact together?
And this is why it's such a compelling thing, I think, to talk about, and why we do talk about trade shows so much and we're interested in it, because right as you said that, like, what about a table? I'm like, well, then like a brand like the North Face could bring what, like 3 products? I mean, like you can't get they can probably get their line into a 20 by 20 booth because it's so big, right? They can't show their whole line. So, no, but you know what I mean? Like immediately you're like, okay, well, there's knits to pick. But then if you don't do that, then you're back to, well, we all have big booths again. I mean, it's like, it's total, there's no real black and white solution to any of these things, which I think what makes it so compelling.
Yeah, right. There's workarounds for all of that.
I do want to share with you guys, and I won't say who it is, but I was texting with somebody else in outdoor media about all this, and we were mentioning, the Minnesota of it all and the Lloyd Vogel of it all, and they wrote to me, hot take, Lloyd is the Trader Joe of outdoor gear. And I'm like, yes. Can we get Trader Lloyd merch going immediately?
Yeah, we need him in a Hawaiian shirt.
Trader Lloyd coming summer 2026.
Yes, I want that. I want a tote bag.
All right, first story that we're really get into this week, aside from stuff we talked about last week, per Kayak Angler Mag, retailer Bass Pro Shops has acquired Hobie and will move production of Hobie products from Mexico to Bass Pro's Missouri-based factory. Since the last sale of the company in 2021, Hobie has endured a myriad of issues, let's say, with dealers facing backlogged orders and copious warranty claims. On top of that, there are new concerns with Bass Pro's ownership when it comes to how specialty retailers will be serviced. And there's a lot left out in that little synopsis there. I could talk for the next 5 minutes about the issues they've faced.
Can I give you my favorite Hobie story? So this was sort of the in between story with the new buyers. A different kayak brand was visiting a paddle sports dealer, okay? And they asked to use the Wi-Fi, and the guys kind of asked for the password, and the guys kind of sheepishly said, well, the password is fuck Hobie. And so they're like, oh, well, okay, we got to get the backstory on that. And basically the backstory was Hobie, to hit some of their credit terms, they needed to realize revenue. So they didn't tell the retailer, and they just shipped them a truckload, literally a semi-full of kayaks to show up on December 24th. Christmas Eve while they're in the throes. Yes, in the throes of like trying to service their customers who are trying to get all their last minute shopping. It shows up, and so they've got to pull people off the shop floor to unload this fucking semi. Complete disaster. So anyway, I'm not going to name the retailer or whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was kind of part, like, if that gives you a sense of what folks were dealing with the last version of Hobie. It wasn't great. You're not going to find a lot of people in the industry that
Owen, but were they pedal powered kayaks?
Well, yes, they were.
I'm just checking. Okay,
There's
all right, good.
so much there. I'm trying to picture the person at Hobie that's like, we got to make our number. Fuck it, just ship them a bunch of kayaks. Then how did they decide who to ship it to? Who's the biggest sucker who might actually pay the bill? All right, those guys. Great, send it. When should it arrive? I don't care. Get it there before December 27th. We have to have it in. Boom.
Exactly. We've got to get all of these
God.
kayaks delivered so that we can recognize the revenue before the end of the year.
This is the business version of the brand asshole, Dave. Like, what is this? Like the supply chain asshole? Like, I don't know what we call this. Like, it just sort of like, who kicks in the door on this is like, no, guys, you cannot do this. You're going.
This is the asshole.
Just the asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
wow.
right.
Well, I mean, that's kind of
that's amazing.
getting into like what I wanted to ask you, Owen, because I mean, it's an old brand. I mean, they're like a first ballot Hall of Fame outdoor brand.
Right.
And it's been a rough few years, but it also doesn't sound like Bass Pro is maybe a natural owner for them. I mean, what's the motivation for Bass Pro in this?
Whoa,
maybe
this is. I think this is a home run for Bass Pro. I mean, they are getting the fishing kayak brand, for I'm guessing a pretty nice discount because things are not great. I'm sure a lot less than whatever they paid for the brand 4 years ago. So they're getting this amazing brand. I mean, like Hobie hosted the Hobie Bass Open Series. Right. I mean, they are the kayakers, the anglers kayak, really. Right. I mean,
but
they
isn't
really
some of the pushback from dealers, like they're worried about Bass Pro owning them from a dealer services perspective. So is it just like, screw the specialty dealers? This is just a Bass Pro brand now. Is that how this is going to go? Probably.
I think there's a number of ways that this could go. So Bass Pro may just say, hey, now it's basically a private brand for Bass Pro. It's under their White River Marine Group. And, if you want to get Hobie, you're going to have to come to Bass Pro. That's one option, right? In which case, obviously, the dealers are sort of fully out of now. Well, in that scenario, potentially the dealers actually do okay because they're servicing the products and doing some other pieces, and maybe they're selling accessories or aftermarket accessories or whatever for the Hobie products. So it might work. I mean, most of these dealers have been surviving without Hobie boats for 2 years anyway. So, like, I guess what's the difference? So that's sort of one option. I don't think they'll go that way. You never know. That's possible. The other one is sort of a tweener where they say, okay, we're going to have maybe more of a different line, maybe more of an opening price point line for Bass Pro, and then a premium line for the independent channel, which could be good or bad depending on how those two are kind of positioned. Or they just say, no, Hobie is still Hobie, and we're selling to Bass Pro as one of our customers. We're selling to the other folks as well, and we're going to fix all of the supply chain stuff, and which would be great news for the independent specialty guys. So it really could go a bunch of different ways, and they haven't really indicated which way at this point.
So, Dave, with all those stories, I hand you the keys to the Hobie brand. They said all the distribute. What do you do? What do you do with this, Dave? How do you recover?
Well, recover. I guess what are you trying to recover? They like Owen said, segmentation would be the first kind of approach with, they are a vessel brand now. They're a fishing brand. That they have become this. And for those that don't know, Hobie started in the 50s, was one of the first to use like fiberglass, into surfboards.
Yeah. Then a catamaran brand. Right. I mean, that was that.
Well, that wasn't even until the 60s.
That's how I knew them.
That wasn't even until the late 60s. Right. So for 15 years, they were this core surf brand in Southern California. It is, I don't know if it's settled law. Rather, they invented the polyurethane skate wheel for skateboards in the mid 60s, early 60s. Like, so they were such a part of board rider culture in Southern California. Like you said, all the way back. This is the body gloves and, and that kind of that world. And in the late 60s made this shift to fiberglass, like the hulls, like, okay, the catamaran, and really kind of blew the whole sail. And for the 70s and 80s were really a part of sail culture and bringing that up. And of course that kind of, rode the 80s, and they became a licensing brand. And now you got sunglasses and all these other swimwear and just everything part of that world. But then in the last 15 years, 20 years, this is where they've pivoted really into being a fishing first, like I said, vessel brand. Like you can kind of get everything. So that's what Bass Pro is buying today is that, right, as piece. But if you say, what would you do with it? Yeah, cultivate that, create some segmentation of their premium line and their vessels. But the real kind of gem here, and we talk all about, soft goods, is, man, this is a legitimate surf brand that you could develop on. I mean, there's a whole category of surf from Birdwell to Hang 10 to Catons that all play off of this, so that you could separate those out and create kind of a different type of brand for people to be reintroduced to, separate from this fishing work. Because fishing kind of looks a little bit like NASCAR in terms of the way it brands, right? It's like more like aftermarket car parts. It's not the same type of branding stories that you would tell in a heritage surf brand and certain kind of products. But you could see how that maybe could live together and extend its customer off of that same authenticity.
All right, Bass Pro, we heard him. Give Dave a call. He's got some ideas for you.
Right? Come on.
They'll be like,
go.
no, we're just going to make fishing boats.
Yeah, we're
just going to make fishing. We're going to make pedal-powered kayaks, dang
I think they're
That's
just going to
right.
make pedal-powered kayaks. Yeah.
Right. But you could do this stuff.
You
is
could.
what Dave
You
said.
could.
You could.
But you could.
All right, guys, you ready for the lightning round?
Lightning round.
First up in the lightning round, per retail dive, Kohl's is expanding their private label FLX activewear line to include products specifically for kids. So, Owen, you're our business consigliere. Like, just how big is the untapped children's CrossFit and yoga market? It's got to be huge, right?
Massive, absolutely. I don't know. I think that there is always a market for little girls that want to look like mom, and maybe little boys too. I don't know. But I don't know how huge it is. Also, the challenge with the kids market in general is it tends to be very price point and discount oriented. You know, like we used to sell strollers back at Moose Show, and we just gave up. It's just like, full price. You never sold a stroller. You went on sale. Oh, we sell 1 million strollers. I mean, it's just, yeah. And then the other challenge is that there's a lot of make that goes into these things. There's almost as much make or labor that goes into a pair of 12-year-old girls' leggings as that goes into a women's mediums leggings, right?
Right.
Yes, a little bit less material, but the price expectation is so much lower. So I don't know. It's a tough business. Yeah.
So it's not just that the upside is that the people making the stuff are also the fit models for the stuff themselves, or.
Yeah, okay. Not touching that one, Colin.
All right, Dave, next one's for you. Per Trailheads by Switchback, footwear brand Keen has unveiled a new shoe called the Seek. Would you like to take a guess at what kind of shoe this is, Dave?
What are my choices, Colin?
Trail running. That's it.
Only
That's it?
choice.
Just trail running?
What else would you make?
I'm gonna choose trail running for
big
200,
winner here
please.
on the Rock Fight today.
Yeah, right. I am always going to support somebody who sees a crowded opportunity, who sharpens those elbows and says, you know what, there is room for me too.
It's the mosh pit approach.
All kidding aside, I have looked at the shoe, looked at the way they've been marketing it for a while, and actually, I got to say, I think this is right on for Keen. I think their product fits the profile. They've been super clear and clean in their language and their points of how they're marketing. It's very process-driven, which is what you kind of expect from Keen. But they're leaning into the wider toe box, which is definitely kind of the trend du jour. It's still feature benefit driven in terms of the rationale, right? But that's always a great opening play. My question with Keen is, well, what are you going to do next? And will you ever move to aspiration, which is more emotional than just the literal kind of rational piece to that? But that's next play. But I have to say, just from what I've seen overall, it's a really solid hitting all of the marks in your go-to-market of the new technology in their brand.
I totally agree with Dave. I think, they made the Keen trail running shoe. They didn't make a trail running shoe. So I think
That's right.
that was the key. Like if they had come out with a super shoe with carbon fiber, yada yada, and all the stuff,
right.
I'd be like, come on, Kane, no.
You think they did wear testing at the trails around the Costco? You think that's where they did the testing for it, or? It's a bunch of dads out there.
A bunch of dads, yes.
A bunch of toddlers and strollers. Hey, these are great.
They do come with a free pair of cargo shorts, in fairness.
All right, last one. Dave, last week we said that Arc'teryx would weather the PR hit from their Himalayan fireworks display without any real issue. It appears it's already over as Wells Fargo has upgraded Amer's stock this past week, indicating there's no real concern with the public response to their mountain art installation. I mean, what should other brands take away from this, Dave? That detonations lead to explosive sales growth?
Deny, ignore, deny. That's what we've learned here, and I'm pretty sure they followed along.
And blame the Chinese team.
That's right. That's actually what we've learned.
To me,
that's
to
right.
me, the biggest takeaway actually is it really helps to have Chinese ownership who are friendly with the CCP and who can censor social media. I guarantee you that if this had been a U.S. or European-owned brand, this thing would be full throttle shit show right now, all over China. So.
Well, if that'd been the case, they wouldn't have gotten the permits to do it in the first place.
There you go.
The world, guys. All right. Let's take a quick break to hear from some sponsors, and then when we come back, we're going to get into the news from REI. All right, winter's unpredictable, guys. Mild one week, freezing the next. I grew up in the mid-Atlantic, and every inch of snow was exciting until it melted into a soupy mess, and then to make things worse, it would refreeze in the driveway, making it impossible to walk across. Going outside became its own adventure, and that includes choosing what to wear. And that's why people have trusted Fjallraven jackets for more than 50 years. Born and tested in Sweden, they're made to handle everything from everyday cold to true Arctic extremes. The philosophy is simple. Build outerwear that performs, protects, and lasts. Oh, and I know you were wearing Fjallraven on the golf course last week.
I was, yes.
Not Arctic conditions, but still, it performed.
Yeah, well, it was a lovely insulated vest for those 50-degree mornings. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, to be fair, we've seen Eoin golf, and there's a lot of hiking involved. So I think that probably was a good call.
A lot of time a lot of time is spent in the woods.
That's right. The back country.
This is glorious. Right. Oh, there's my ball.
That's right.
From the Keb Gore-Tex jacket to the Expedition pack-down hoodie, you'll find something to suit the winter conditions you know are on the way for your neck of the woods. And retailers want to see the best winter jackets you should be carrying in your shop. Schedule an appointment with Fjallraven at GOA Connect in Kansas City this November. The rest of you, check out fjallraven.com. Adventure is calling. Are you ready to answer? No, I'm like asking you guys. Are you ready to take this call? Adventure's calling.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Coming early in November, Lems is dropping a bold new lineup of minimalist boots and trail shoes built to go wherever the season takes you. Meet your new trail companions, the Trail Thrasher and the Trailblazer Mid. Engineered with tough, full rubber outsoles for serious grip and designed with an urban edge, they're made to move seamlessly from rugged backcountry treks to city streets. And these are just two of the many new styles hitting the lineup soon. Get ready to explore more. And also, retailers again. I hope you're listening, retailers. Be sure to go see the Lems team when they exhibit at GOA's Discovery Marketplace at the Connect Show in Kansas City this November.
What is an urban edge?
That's the curb you hit when you fall on the frozen driveway.
That's right.
A curb, yeah.
The urban edge got me.
Right?
All right, guys, a few weeks ago, we learned that mosquitoes kill more humans every year than any other animal. And like the Dalai Lama once said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. But I doubt the Dalai Lama was sleeping in the Wilder Pant from Royal Robbins, because the Wilder Pant, like everything in Royal's MPT collection, has mosquito protection technology. Relying on protection through construction, MPT is the chemical-free solution to mosquito-free days in the outdoors. And while you were golfing, how was the mosquito situation? It's a little late in the season, but were they around?
No, and I was on an island off the coast of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so it wasn't bad. I think I did get one bite, though, in fairness.
To shop the entire MPT collection from Royal Robbins, head to royalrobbins.com, and retailers, again, 3 times the charm. Make sure you schedule an appointment with Royal Robbins at GOA Connect in Kansas City this November.
And we'll be there, right?
We will be there.
We will be there, so yeah.
Schedule an appointment with Colin and Eoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Say hi.
Don't let our big-time production value and celebrity names fool you. Looking at you, producer Dave, but Rockfight LLC is a small business and growing brand. And even though we have our own consigliere, he advises on other matters, we've got to consult a lawyer every now and then on the legal structures that every business needs. But for a small business like ours, the cost to hire general counsel or pay a retainer is a non-starter. So what's an outdoorsy founder to do? I mean, come on, we're not flashing that outside money. Enter Conatus Counsel. They can help your business with fractional general counsel and legal services, from strategy consulting to advocacy and government affairs to real-world implementation for outdoor recreation industry businesses. Forrest over at Conatus Counsel has helped Rockfight navigate some of these areas, and let me tell you, knowing someone has your back means you can focus on running your business. I mean, he had at least 3 edits to this read to, quote-unquote, protect us from ourselves. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Forrest cares just as much about the outdoors and the outdoor industry as our listeners. So, got questions? ConatusCounsel.com to get in touch with Forrest. The first 6 hours are free. Wait, what? What? I can't say that? Oh, initial consultations are free. Okay, fine. All right, guys, a lot happened last week, but besides the outdoor retailer news, the biggest story was REI's announcement of a new strategic plan they're calling Peak 28. Via a letter from CEO Mary Beth Lawton, the announcement attempts to lay out the path the co-op will be taking over the next 3 years, including 4 strategic pillars that will guide their actions. Those pillars are, number 1, connected, focused, and trailblazing culture. Number 2, authentic, culturally leading assortment. Number 3, elevated service and experience. Number 4, reinvented membership. I think the announcement of this plan has led to some confusion, maybe than rather a true understanding of REI's plan for the next 3 years. We'll talk about that in a second. But to start off with, Eoin, what was your initial response to Peak 28?
Well, ultimately, this plan has to get REI back to profitability. That's the whole deal here. And if you look at the financials and dig in the way I have, really their biggest P&L issues are twofold. One is very high payroll. So their payroll ballooned from 20% of revenue in 2019 pre-COVID to 25%. Okay, so that's a huge number, 5% of revenue delta there. So payroll is a big issue. The second one is margins, right? Margins dropped from over 45% in 2019 to 40.4% in 2024. So, between those two things, you've got almost 10% of revenue that just sort of went away. And whatever this thing is, whatever this plan ultimately turns out to be, has to solve for those things. And I think it's really interesting that in the memo to employees, MB said that they're going to need to make tough choices to do this. And, prioritization is part of any kind of planning process, but I really do think that there are going to be tough choices here. Like what, how are we going to get here? On the employee side, I think some of the tough choices are going to be about, like we're talking about doing all these great things. And if you read the objectives, it's hard to disagree with them being good objectives to have. But it's like, okay, how do you do all these things? How do we solve for the payroll issue and add all these experiences and add all this new level of service and add all those other things? Tricky, right? And then, how do we offer all of the priced right assortment and do all the rest of the stuff and a more differentiated membership experience and solve for the gross margin issue? So, for example, is part of this whole new and imagined membership, does the dividend change or go away as part of this because it's not really affordable in the new world?
So is this kind of a conscious, we're going to be intentionally vague while kind of tipping our hands towards there's some pretty wholesale changes coming to REI coming down the road? Is that how you're reading this? I
think so, and I think most people would agree that there have to be wholesale changes, that structurally things have to change to get to a better place. The other challenge, and I think this is the opening salvo to, is you have to get the green vests on board and you have to get the members on board that this is the way that we're going to go and that ultimately it's the right answer for the co-op long term. So I think putting the objectives out first, which are all, things you can kind of get behind, is maybe like the step one. It's the details, the devil in the details then of what's actually, what are those tough choices? And is everybody going to be on board with those tough choices?
All right. Do you want to go through each of these objectives and kind of give us your thoughts on them and see if we can kind of figure out what they're trying to say here?
Sure. So let's start with the first, which is connected, focused, and trailblazing culture. So I think some of the tough choices are, okay, what roles need to change? What roles are going to be added? And more importantly, what roles are going to be eliminated to become this high-performing culture, as the objective says? Then also this talk about being a purpose-led organization. Okay, what purposes? Are we talking public lands, which I think that they've come out, more strongly of late? DEI, sustainability, so what are those elements? And are we going to have to pick and choose there to have a bigger tent or a smaller tent, et cetera? So that would be those would be the first two. The authentic, culturally leading assortment. There's a lot of talk about their target customer. Okay, well, who is that target customer? Again, you got to make choices there. Are you going to focus on the core, and that's who you're going to be, sort of old school REI, backpack, climb, camp, whatever, or is our target customer lifestyle, casual, et cetera? Are we going to broaden that definition? And then when you do that, okay, which brands and categories are going to change? You've only got whatever it is, 25,000 square feet in a store. Something's got to give, right? If you're going to go more after run, you're going to go less after hike, right? So those things are going to be tough decisions in terms of open to buy. Some brands may no longer be part of our REI. And then the other piece is private label. If we're going to do all these things, if we're going to deliver this, priced right, trend right assortment, as it was called, is that really that the REI private brand is going to be priced right, trend right, and then we're going to basically fill that with these other brands? So these are all the kind of the big issues from an assortment perspective. Then we get into elevated service and experience. Again, okay, how do we elevate service? How do we elevate experience when we really have to tackle payroll? And then finally, this whole reinvented membership thing. Okay, we're going to have all of these highly differentiated offerings. How do we add those without adding a whole bunch of cost? Doesn't mean actually changing the rebate. And so, a lot on the table here.
Dave, before I move into the next piece here, you and I had talked about this off mic. They when it comes to the experience and the service piece of it, I mean, they made a pretty big move recently to kind of that affected a lot of that.
Yeah, well, like Eoin said, it's the details in all of these. You can't really disagree with any of these. And more service and experiences, yeah, that's great. However, they just did shed that entire sector of their company. So it's a lot of institutional knowledge that has just been drifted away. And so how are you going to bring that back into it? The reinvented membership, love that. And Eoin focused on the dividend, but something that they kind of helped pioneer in the sense of this kind of membership aspect in retail is now, is there just a new day of what that means with subscription models and the kind of the customer focus and building that core, that VIP aspect and brand experiences? There's so much that could start to take on that really, that gets to that new membership. But
maybe for both of you, is there an upside to talking about this now? Like, it seems are they up against some meeting or deadline? I think it's fair to say this left us wanting more. I mean, even like the Gear Junkies newsletter this week said it was kind of a cryptic release. A lot of people are kind of wondering. There's a lot of questions that have come out of this. So I understand the motivation, especially the way Eoin you described it in your color there, Dave. But I'm not going to say it is half baked, but it feels a little like we want more. Like, what do you mean here? There's a lot of questions more than answers coming out of this.
To keep our cake metaphors going here, I don't know that the cake is half baked, but all we're seeing is the frosting on top. Right? That's all we're seeing. We don't know what went into the cake. We don't know what the ingredients are. We don't know anything about it. It could be a brick under all that frosting. We have no idea. So, I think that's the bigger question. But by the same token, I wouldn't expect them to lay out, this is what all this means, boom, 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 boom. It makes sense from a communication strategy to say, okay, well, let's get the stuff out there that people can kind of get behind.
Hey,
and then
changes are coming, things are going to happen.
Then we follow up with what that actually means. Yeah.
All right. Well, for our listeners, the Rock Fight, we've been in touch with REI. We're trying to book MB to come on the show and talk about Peak 28. We'll see. REI is considering it. We'll see how it goes. We hope we can welcome her on the show to kind of offer some of that color, maybe when they're ready to do so. Also, while we're in the REI world, they announced this week several new board members to fill 3 vacancies after elections earlier this year. Those names were Eric Sprunk, who's formerly of Nike, John Vandemore from Skechers, and Lisa, is it Bouget? I'm going to assume Bougie. I'm sorry, Lisa, if I'm messing up your name. Bougie, a partner from an early-stage VC fund that specializes in climate tech. All 3 of them are joining REI's board. Eoin, can you glean anything from maybe the go-forward strategy for REI from these appointments?
I mean, it's really more of the same, right? In terms of whether it's overall, executive team leadership or board leadership, it's the well-trodden ground of ex-Nike execs and CPG folks. This isn't an outdoor-focused team, but yeah, I guess it's more of the same.
All right. Well, like I said, hopefully we can bring MB on the show to talk about this more. And regardless of that, we'll make sure we weigh in on anything else new that comes out of REI. If you want your gear grown in a garage, go to Garage Grown Gear. Friend of the pod, Lloyd Vogel and Garage Grown Gear. Been with the Rock Fight for a long time, and we love having them here. And now they are the presenting sponsor of The Parting Shot.
It's time for the party shot.
All right, guys, time for the parting shot. Pretty short one today. I just want to say congrats to former Rock Fight guest Cassie Abel of Wild Rye for the launch of Wild Rye's new outerwear line. Now, we don't want to make a habit of calling out line extensions or congratulating brands on launching new products here on the Rock Fight. But if you've been paying attention
especially
to the way
if
things
they're
unfold,
not going to, pay us to do it.
Good point. If you want to advertise a show, man, we will talk about you all day long. Come on board. The water's warm.
Or if you introduce a trail running shoe.
Right. Yeah, true.
Now the line's getting long because...
Well, got to get in line sometime.
But look, if you've been paying attention to the way things have unfolded this year and the impact that the tariff situation has had on brands like Wild Rye, then you have a small sense of how big of a lift it was for Wild Rye to launch their outerwear line. And I just want to highlight it here and say congrats. And it was actually a big week for women-led founders in the outdoor industry, as in addition to the good news for Cassie and Wild Rye, Gigi and the team at Gnara opened a pop-up shop on Pearl Street in Boulder. And then last week, Title IX held their annual Pitchfest, where they bring together women founders to pitch their brands and land a Title IX PO. Gear Abbey herself, Shantae Salabert, was at Pitchfest and will be coming on the Rock Fight to talk about that in the next couple of weeks. So congrats to all of them. And it's a good reminder that, there are good things happening in the outdoor industry, all right? That it is still an inspirational segment that we talk about here, even if we get in the weeds and some of the things that make us raise an eyebrow. But I thought it was nice to get some good news from these folks. All right, everybody, that's the show for today. We want your emails. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. Our episode today produced by producer Dave with art direction provided by Sarah Gensert. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. Back again to take us out. He can't be stopped. It's Krista Makes to sing the Rock Fight fight song. And we'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.